Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to show you how to get all the grease nipples on a Polaris Magnum 425. So I was going to do this in the shop, but then I forgot, but we brought it out and washed it. And now it's going into our little de facto storage area. So until we decide what's going to happen, this has been a monster of a machine with these treads of tires on. I was able to follow a Can-Am 600 around with no issues. So, very evenly matched with it too. I went in one hole where I got stuck and he pulled me out. So, this is the older style one with the triple chain drive. So you have the disc brake here, which is and then the drive chain is here. So this is the famous disc setup where there's pins and issues with that. So we haven't ever thrown, well, I guess we blew the main drive chain in the rear, so that's got a new chain and sprocket, but we've never really had any issues with this setup. There's a chain tensioner block in the rear. I'm kind of getting off topic here. So basically you loosen up these two bolts and then you twist this portion to tension up the chain so it's tight. And similarly, there's one just like it over here. So you gotta loosen the two bolts that hold the elliptical hub, and then there's a little lug here you can set a brass punch or something against and move it. So very simple design, quite reliable. I'm pretty impressed. It takes a lot of maintenance to get this machine back on its feet after it's been in the mud bogs. And that involves cleaning the chains, power washing, re-oiling everything, checking the tension, and greasing. So I'm pretty sure we're going to miss a couple grease ones on this. But because I've fought so hard, it seems like I find a new one every time. I think I've finally found them all. So we're going to go through and try and cover all of them the best we can. It's the bright August sunlight, so we'll have some shadows some places. So obviously you have a grease nipple here on the center cartridge. But then there's one all the way up at the top of the swing arm and another one on the other side. So each pivot, so there's three nipples on the rear swing arm, and that does it for the rear end. The front end is going to have a whole lot more. There's one behind the brake disc. I don't know how much I can show, but if you go in there with your finger, you should be able to see it. So basically there's a little hub there with a needle bearing inside to stabilize the end of the shaft coming out of the reversing gearbox. So there's that. And then of course, like we pointed out before, this axle works the same way as the rear one. It also has a grease nipple in the same manner, same fashion. So you'll basically have to reach in here, and I can easily get to it just like so. And that'll be turned, that might be turned any number of angles depending on where the elliptical hub is turned to tension the chain. So right now we're almost to where we can take a link out of this chain. I tried so hard, but I can't, not yet. A few more trips maybe. All right, so that's all the stuff from the side. I think there's one down in here that I missed for the headstock. Yeah, it's in behind these wires. Right here. pretty obvious location. I've just got all my wires zip tied over top of it, so it's a little hard to get to. Now the front end, see if we can do it on the other side. So here's the oil fill plug for the front hubs. So don't forget those. Make sure they're full of oil. I'm pretty sure the function of the four-wheel drive on demand for drive, I'm pretty sure the function of it depends on it being lubricated. And you don't want water and stuff getting in there messing with the function of it. And you can always keep an eye out back here for any leaks related to the four-wheel drive hubs. On this side, we've got a grease nipple, of course, on the tie rod. Each end of the tie rod. The inner ends don't get greased. However, the bottom of the steering shaft also gets greased. I think that's the nipple right there. Alright, what else is there? What about the grease nipple? This one's going to be really difficult. It's very tight. I'm not so sure. Oh, here it is. And I'm gonna turn up the screen brightness here so I can see what I'm pointing at. Alright. So right under the brake caliper, here's a grease nipple for the front hub. Of course, up here, once again, tie rod. There's also a grease nipple in this universal joint. There's a grease nipple here for the lower control arm. There's a grease nipple in here for the front. I'm going to turn the steering the other way. I think we'll have some better lighting. There we go. We can lay in here on my back. So we got front hub that needs grease. This tie rod needs grease. This CV shaft needs grease. Oh, it's not a CV shaft. Sorry, it's a universal joint. Then there's a grease nipple for the front center section. Not sure what that's called. I think I accessed the front grease nipple from. Must be. Oh, I know where I got it from. Oh, okay, now the tire's in my way. Okay, the grease nipple for it is gonna be right behind the radiator. Pretty dark spot. There it is. I think you could see it. So you have your front hub, U-joint, lower A-arm, tie rod, and the hub. So that's a bunch of them. I think that's the last one. So you have your rear swing arm, 3 nipples, and then you move up to the right of the wheeler. You have the support bearing for the jack shaft. It's not actually a jack shaft. It's just a shaft coming out of the reversing box. Support bearing. And then on the front you have the fluid for your hubs, your axle shaft, your front center section, your jack shaft, grease nipple, your lower A-arms, and your tie rod, and your hub. and your steering column upper and lower. That's a lot of grease nipples, and I think I've found them all. So I always think it's a wise idea once you're done. I should probably turn toward the sun. It's always a wise idea when you're done wheeling. Check your gearbox fluid, your engine oil, and your front hubs. Make sure you fill them up. If they're full of milkshake, you can always spin the wheel, turn the hole down, and drain it. Give it a little bit of time because it's trapped behind the bearing. So you'll have some oil out here and some oil inboard, and it needs to seep through the bearings to drain. Here's your coolant tank, your engine oil. I haven't actually checked this one because I had it up on the transmission jack. Looks good. Looks really full, but it must have sloshed up there. Okay, that's your engine and your coolant. Those are two things to check, and there's one last item I'll show. Here's your transmission dipstick. See, that fluid looks pretty good. Once it's all creamy and white, you know it's time to change that. And the gear and the plug for that is directly below my finger. It's there and down. So you got to go from underneath. It's very hard to see, almost impossible to see. So we'll be making some decisions on this motor. Looks like it's going to need a rebuild. Somehow, in some inexplicable manner, the piston rings let go as it was parked out of doors in storage. So hopefully we can fix this girl and get her back going again, and hopefully we can do one more beautiful weather fall ride. So that's this girl serviced. We checked all the fluids, checked for that telltale water milkshake. Basically what's left to do after the engine overhaul, of course, what's left to do is oil and check the chain tensions, which should be good. So when you do take your four-wheeler underwater, especially this one, you want to come back up, wash the wheeler inside and out, oil the chains, check your engine oil, check for milkiness, check your transmission oil, check for milkiness, and grease all of your grease nipples to push the water out. Otherwise you might end up with some rust and corrosion issues. We had our starter seize up. The front snout bearing, or front snout seal on the starter, went out and allowed it to fill with water, and then the snout bearings, which are little roller bearings, seized right up tight. So I think I got 6 or 8 hours worth of maintenance in this machine just from one ride underwater. So these wheelers will handle a lot of abuse. The demand for wheel drive locks all 4 wheels together and makes this machine unstoppable. The plastics are high quality. They don't break very easily or crack. The steel racks and the steel front bar make this machine tough. We've had this fall down a 20-foot bank end over end multiple times with no damage other than a bent steering column, which is a little skinnier than a Honda one, but that's a good record for a machine that's taken that amount of abuse. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Those are the steps needed to grease and maintain the machine for high water and abuse. I hope you enjoy your Polaris, and I hope it lasts a long time for you. And I think they should if they're well taken care of. See you in the next one.